He is the most consequential American leader of the 21st century, and that's an understatement. President Trump has, here's a list: removed men from women's sports, ended DEI in the federal government and the U.S. military, expanded oil and gas extraction to lower prices, taken steps to end unfair trade practices, secured trillions of dollars in new investments in American manufacturing, deported criminal illegal aliens, stood up for religious liberty and rooted out anti-Christian bias, combated virulent anti-Semitism on college campuses. The list goes on and on and on. That's just barely scratching the surface. That's in 100 days. We're just getting started.
Are you folks tired of winning yet? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us on this fine night in America. Today marks 100 days that President Trump has been in office. Now, a programming note, you probably realize and notice that we're live at 5 Eastern today, and that is for one reason. President Trump will be rallying folks at Macomb Community College in Warren, Michigan tonight at 6 p.m. If you keep it locked in right here on the Great America Show, right here on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, will be carrying the rally live for you. So you don't even have to flinch. Don't have to move your seat. We'll have the link right here for you in the chat. And you'll be able to just click that and stay right here on Lou Dobbs Media. You won't have to go anywhere. You won't have to tune into Fox News or CNN or any of those fake news networks. We got it for you right here on the Lou Dobbs Media channel. So the first 100 days, folks, I'm going to ask you guys, what do you guys think now? Of course, you can't respond to me, but think about it. Are you underwhelmed? Are you overwhelmed? Are you have you expected the first 100 days to be this good? Have you expected them to be bad? We want to know your thoughts. Shoot me a message on Twitter at John Fawcett NY, or you can email us at info@LouDobbs. I want to know what you guys are thinking and where you guys are at. Let us know right here in the comments section on how you think President Trump is doing in the first 100 days. Now, the MSNBC Marxists were out on the streets of Michigan earlier today and this week, asking voters what they thought about President Trump and the job he's doing his first 100 days in office. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
Tariffs have got everybody scared, and I'm willing, I think, to go through a little bit of initial pain. Nobody likes to pay more for anything. I don't. But in the long run, I think it's going to be good. I'm on board with the mission.
I'm optimistic. I'm really very optimistic. And I know that right now with the tariffs, that there's a little bit of pain. Things are happening right now that right now we're not in a good place. Are
you willing to accept that pain for the time being?
Well, I don't think I'm an instant gratification person. I think that sometimes you have to go through a little bit of the fire to get to the end of the rainbow.
Perfectly put by that gentleman, by both those gentlemen in Michigan there. It's, as we've been saying on the show, nothing's instant. And some of the things that President Trump and the holes he's had to pull us out of here are not holes that you pull out of immediately. Now, I'm not giving a free pass to Pam Bondi for why she hasn't gotten out the Epstein files, which we're going to take up today with our good friend, the great Roger Stone, our weekly guest here on the Great America Show. I'm not giving her a free pass on why she hasn't been able to do that, but the trade deals, some of these trade deals that these government officials have got us in over the years, they can't be taken out overnight. The tariffs, it's not an overnight thing. Foreign policy, it's not an overnight thing. But for the overwhelming majority, his first 100 days, in my opinion, has been nothing short of monumental. And that is with him being stifled and stopped by Marxist Dem rogue judges. There's judges who mean to harm America, who want to control America, and want to do everything they could to subvert you, the voters. It's what it is. But we have a lot to look forward to now for the rest of the year, for the rest of the term, this administration. One thing in particular is those tax cuts, those Trump tax cuts, the corporate tax cuts, the individual tax cuts that are going to be renewed very shortly. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was at the White House today, and he had this to say about how it's coming along and how it's progressing.
It's trade. its tax and its deregulation. So we are in the midst of addressing, as Caroline said, these long-term trade imbalances. The tax bill is going much better than I would have thought when I took office on January 28th, and that's through President Trump's leadership. That Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune are united. Speaker Johnson, we had a very good meeting yesterday with something called the Big Six, NEC Director Kevin Hassett, myself, Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune, Committee Chairman Jason Smith, and Senator Crapo. And the tax bill is moving forward. It is going to give permanence to the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act, which will, back to the question on certainty, it will give American business certainty, it will give American people certainty, and then President Trump.
Scott Bessent, probably one of the best Treasury secretaries I've seen in my lifetime. Brilliant man. Once those tax cuts come back and those things are renewed, the markets are going to absolutely soar. There's nothing more that the markets like than tax cuts, especially corporate tax cuts that are coming for these businesses. So we look forward to that. There's so much green road, or green grass, I should say, and paved road ahead for this administration that it's going to take some time. And like I said, I'm not giving a free pass to Pam Bondi and why they're dragging their feet on everything. But as a whole, this administration is off to a rousing start. Hats off to the administration. Now, yesterday we had on Mark Mitchell, and we talked about the mainstream media, their lies and their polls, these fake polls. They didn't learn their lesson in 2016. They didn't learn their lesson in 2020. They didn't learn their lesson in 2024. And now they're back into 2025 with the same nonsense, the lies, the deceit, and the destruction. It's not just the pollsters, though. We watch CNN on this show here, so you don't have to. Jake Tapper, as I like to call him, Fake Tapper, covering a story very interesting. We'll let it roll and we'll explain after.
Nation is approaching its first 100-day mark with a full court press on the issue of illegal immigration, and they really don't want you to miss it. So they subtly and tastefully deck the White House North Lawn with dozens of yard signs featuring photos of people that the Trump administration claims are in the country illegally, each poster saying arrested and listing the alleged offensive with which they have been charged. CNN's working to confirm the identities and if there are actual allegations against these people. Until then, we are blurring their identities.
I mean, these people are just total liars. Jake Tapper, another one, total liar. Notice how many times he said alleged criminals or claims. Well, Jake, the difference between you and your fake news operation that you run and you work at is that the Trump administration has receipts. Don't, as I say here every day, folks, don't take our word for it. Don't take anyone's word for it. There's receipts. Those alleged criminals that were arrested. By the way, this is if you guys have Twitter. If you're not following me, please be sure to follow me on Twitter at John Fawcett NY. Also on YouTube. We're now on YouTube. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel. If you can follow us on YouTube, if you have a YouTube account, The Great America Show, please follow us there. Subscribe, turn on notifications so you know every time we go live there. We'd greatly appreciate it as we're trying to boost that channel up like we have our Rumble channel rolling. So back to what I was saying, the Trump administration has receipts, unlike these Marxist Dems. CNN, MSNBC, they can lie. Adam Schiff, they can lie. They get away with it. Nobody holds them. Yesterday we spoke about accountability. Nobody holds them accountable, so they get away with it, and they continue to do as they please. But the Trump administration has receipts. So Jake Tapper, Fake Tapper, told you alleged crimes. The Trump administration claims they're criminals. You heard it. You heard the same thing I heard. So as I was saying, back to Twitter, Rapid Response 47 is the Trump administration's one of their Twitter pages where they rebuff and rebuttal anything the fake news puts out. So if you go to Rapid Response 47 on Twitter, their pinned tweet is this, quote, "Meet the scumbags placed on the White House lawn this morning for the world to see. The worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens sent back where they belong in President Trump's first 100 days. So Tapper, I'm not sure if he was saying allegedly arrested or allegedly criminals, but you can go right here, as I said, Rapid Response 47, And it has all of these people's names. I'm sorry, they withhold the names, but they have all the crimes and everything they've been accused of, what they've done, their arrest date. And you can go through and you can look and you can see what these people are arrested for. There's no hyperbole here, as CNN would suggest. There's no alleged. This is one of my favorite ones. It's become a meme lately, as you can see. This lady right here, when they arrested her, was crying. The arrest of a Dominican Republic national convicted of possession and distribution of fentanyl. ICE, Philadelphia, arrested Virginia Basora Gonzalez, a 36-year-old. Oh, I take that back. They did put the names in. 36-year-old citizen of the Dominican Republic. Basora has a final order of removal dated for May 4th, 2020. Basora's criminal history includes a conviction for attempted possession with intent to distribute 40 grams or more of fentanyl in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Enough grams of fentanyl to kill multiple people. There's no alleged there, Mr. Jake Tapper. There's no claims there, Mr. Jake Tapper. Why don't you report the news? Be honest with the American people on what's going on in this country. The criminals that have flown into this country, the drugs that have poured into this country, the crime that has flourished in this country from illegal immigration. Why don't you be honest with the people? And if you're not going to be honest with the people, why don't you take them to live with you? Why don't you adopt some of them? If they're such good people, take them to live with you in your mansion, your $1 million house, your $1 million apartment, wherever you live. Take them to live with you if they're such good people. It doesn't seem, folks, that the Marxist Dems and these mainstream media outlets are going to stop their deceit and lies anytime soon. Now, thankful for great Americans like you and I, we hold them accountable by not tuning in and giving to their ratings. Eventually, they're going to run out of money. They're going to run out of advertising money. Advertisers aren't going to dump any money into the network. That's how it works. These networks flourish on advertising. Okay. The advertisers see a demographic, a number of audience viewers, and they pay based on that. So one of two things happens here. They start cutting down substantially on how much they're spending, how much they're paying for their weak viewer numbers, or they cut it out altogether. So there's going to be a day where Jake Tapper's not going to have a job anymore. We've seen the downsizing that CNN has done and MSNBC has done. They're just a few. That's going to happen all across the board. The American people are tired of it. Nobody wants to hear your lies anymore. Nobody wants to hear your deceit. You guys are a threat to democracy, not Donald Trump, not MAGA, nothing compared to what you guys have done over the last 10 years and what you continue to do. So before we bring in our guest, the great Roger Stone, host of the Stone Zone, each and every night, WABC Radio, 8 p.m., or you catch him on WABCradio.com or thestonezone.com. I want to conclude with this. And also, just a reminder, we'll be carrying that Trump rally live from Michigan, Warren, Michigan, right after the show, right here on this channel, in the chat section on Rumble and YouTube. We'll have the link for you to join us for that. In conclusion, President Trump's first 100 days, in my opinion, couldn't be off to a better start. Like I said, with the exception of these rogue Marxist judges, that would be the only exception, in my opinion, where it could have been off to a better start. But it's baked in the cake, folks. That's what these Marxist Dems do. It is what it is. We've lived with it for 10 years. We'll live with it for another 4.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillow is only $14.98. Queens, $18.98. King size, only $1 more. Body pillows, $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Joining us now is the great Roger Stone. Roger, it's excellent, as always, to have you back with us here on the Great America Show. President Trump in Michigan tonight, but he's got a little bit of a problem. He's got this freak who wants him impeached. This guy
This
right
is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact. This isn't
I think
an
that's
isolated
enough, Roger.
incident.
I mean, I don't know where they find these people.
That guy is kind of the Indian Al Green.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, first of all, he wasn't illegally deported. He was legally deported. He is not a citizen of the United States. He is a citizen of El Salvador. And he is most definitely a member of a violent criminal gang. What we have here in the country is judicial tyranny. Unelected judges going far beyond their authority to try to stop the reform agenda of a president. Yeah, it is a constitutional crisis, but check the Constitution, John. I don't see the part where it says the judiciary is superior to the other two branches.
Right.
So, it is a little hard to understand. There is no grounds to impeach Donald Trump. That guy just got his 15 minutes. He is going to give rise to 100 Saturday Night Live skits, but Donald Trump is not going to be impeached anytime soon.
Why can't they find a normal-looking person, Roger? And I'm not just saying because he's Indian. He's just a weird dude. I mean, none of these people in the Democratic Party, like, the Republicans are just as bad. I mean, we have our own fill of weirdos, Roger. But, I mean, first it's Al Green. Then you've got this guy. I mean, who's next? Is it going to be the transgender from Delaware? It's mind-blowing to me. So Donald Trump's in Michigan tonight, which, folks, by the way, if you keep it here after the show, we'll be bringing you the rally right here on this channel. In Michigan tonight to talk about his first 100 days. How do you think would you grade his first 100 days in office? Are you underwhelmed, overwhelmed? Your thoughts?
I would give him, an A-, perhaps. Look, this is like turning around an ocean liner. And I think a lot of people are unrealistic about how much he is able to do virtually overnight. But I do know this. When I went to buy eggs last Sunday, they were $5.50 a dozen. Last time I bought them, Joe Biden was president, they were $8.90 a dozen. Gas prices are down. Interest rates are down. Inflation is actually holding steady while we've just had the largest single increase in tariff revenue, $15 billion in April, projected to be even more in March. So I recognize that people want the president to do everything overnight, but I don't think that is possible. That said, I've expressed here on this show my frustration with the fact that I don't believe all the Kennedy assassination documents have been released. I think that there are deep state actors who have withheld a lot of vital information. I now don't think all of the principal documents, videos, audios, and so on pertaining to the murder of Robert F. Kennedy have been released. Now that I've seen what has been released. So just to give you a couple of examples where the president has kept his promise, but I do think that there are deep state bureaucrats who are trying to thwart his endeavors. The most important thing, I think we all understand, will be the economy. And Trump has a stunning, I would say, risky gambit here, where he is betting that he can use the cudgel of tariffs to get our many trading partners to give us a fair trading deal. But he also has to renew the tax cuts in January. And we have to have very real spending reform, spending cuts. If nothing else, Elon Musk has shown the way. Now, that's a lot to get done. But if the president does do it, I do think, as he said in the campaign, the economy will be revitalized. The mainstream media and their Trump derangement syndrome seems to be at an all-time high. This White House Correspondents' Dinner, where everyone in the place collectively knew about the cognitive decline of Joe Biden, and all of them covered it up, and then they gave an award to the one guy who had the cojones to write about it as if they weren't complicit in the cover-up. Absolutely unbelievable.
Just going back, you go to the grocery store and buying eggs. I can't picture Roger Stone walking down the aisle of a grocery store throwing some yogurts in the cart, some eggs.
I got to wear a Panama hat and sunglasses, but yeah, I do it.
Oh, it's great. So he is running to. So before I get into that, I want to discuss, because I agree with you wholeheartedly what you said, that he is one man and there's only so much he can do. Right? There's things like trade agreements, Roger, which you can't fix overnight, okay? Because they're years of just garbage that our politicians have put us into. There's manufacturers that have left America. That's not coming back overnight. It will with due time, but not overnight. A stock market's going to take some time to rebound, okay? But there are some things that you mentioned that can be done overnight, and it's not incumbent upon President Trump because he's already ordered his Department of Justice, his Attorney General, to declassify it. Pam Bondi, okay? Now, there's so many people who are saying, just give some time, just give some time, just give some time. I agree with giving time, Roger, but we knew for 4 years that we wanted the Epstein documents. We knew for 4 years that we wanted the JFK documents. We knew it's not even 4 years. We knew for 8 years because Donald Trump wanted them out the first time. The RFK, and the list goes on and on and on. What is the holdup with Pam Bondi that she can't seem to get on message with President Trump?
I honestly don't think that because she's not well versed in this, that she knows where all the documents are. There's an excellent letter sent to her by Congressman Tim Burchett that outlined the fact that the president's order pertained narrowly to the National Archives JFK assassination records collection. That's great, but that there are still documents at the FBI, at the IRS, at the CIA, the Department of State, the Department of Defense. There are documents that we know that the Assassination Records Review Board, not just documents, but also audios and videos that were reviewed by that governmental entity back in the 90s that are not included in the material that has just been released. And then you'll remember the House Select Committee on Assassinations, after doing an exhaustive investigation, concluded that organized crime was deeply involved in John Kennedy's murder. Yet none of the documents that they have turned over would indicate that or reflect that. So I think Anna Paulina Luna has done a good job, but I do think she has to keep pushing because everything is not out there. And as far as Epstein is concerned, this is interesting to me because I interviewed Virginia Giuffre. I have 12 hours of audio tape. I interviewed her for my 2015 book, The Clintons' War on Women. If you go to that book, John, the longest chapter in the book is the expose on Jeffrey Epstein. After Nick Bryant, an investigative journalist, I was probably the second author in the country to fully expose what Epstein was doing. Wow. I read every bit of Virginia Giuffre's sworn testimony. In all honesty, I find it very hard to believe that she committed suicide.
Yeah, and it's not just her. I mean, you've got this other girl now who's come out. You've got Epstein himself. How many more people need to drop dead? How many more people need to get hit by a car? And that's very literally because a month ago, Virginia Giuffre was hit by a bus. How many more people need to hang themselves in their own cell with nobody watching, with no cameras on, with no guards in sight before we get the news. And the interesting thing about it, Roger, we spoke about this last week with regard to somebody else. It wasn't about Epstein. It was about somebody else being a rat, snitching and getting no jail time. But Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in a jail cell right now, right? What I was told, Roger, was they have so much information on Jeffrey Epstein that they didn't even need Ghislaine Maxwell to flip. They didn't need her testimony. They didn't need anything, which is why no plea deal was cut, which is why she's still sitting in jail. That troubles me. Does it not trouble you?
Well, I think the real problem here is not Pam Bondi. I think the real problem here is the Southern District of New York. That U.S. Attorney's District thinks that they are a law unto themselves. Even though the president has fired the people at the top and recently appointed Jay Clayton as the interim U.S. attorney, virtually everyone below him is a hardcore partisan Trump hater. It's going to be very interesting, for example, to see whether they honor this memo from the Justice Department that lays out the guidelines as to how certain cryptocurrency cases that were brought by the Biden administration but will not be brought by the Trump administration are handled. That place needs to be cleaned out. I suspect the holdup lies in New York, not in Washington, when it comes to the Epstein material. And then, John, in all honesty, they got from Epstein's home in New York, from his island, Little St. James in the Virgin Islands, from his apartment in Paris, from his ranch in New Mexico, hard drives and DVDs. But why do we believe that those still are in existence? Why do we believe that those who were very powerful in two previous administrations, who had a great interest in that material and never seeing the light of day, didn't have it destroyed?
But wouldn't it be in Pam Bondi's best interest, Roger, to come out and blow the whistle and say, we got here, there's no tapes. We know there was 15 gigabytes on this hard drive. We know there was this taken out of here. It's not here. It's nowhere to be found. Wouldn't it be in her best interest to be transparent with the American people after promising the world and delivering a stale piece of bread and say, this is where we're at right now? There's nothing national security about this. Now, I understand there's some situations where you need to act in silence. Everyone's dead, Roger. Everyone's dead. I mean, who are they protecting?
Well, first of all, we don't know that there's no national security issues because when
that we know of.
Let me say this. When Alberto Acosta, the U.S. attorney for Miami, who basically rubber stamped Epstein's state conviction on sex crimes after pleading them way down, the state attorney did. When Acosta was appointed labor secretary and those preparing him for his confirmation hearings asked him what he was going to say if he was asked in the hearings why he had essentially given Epstein a slap on the wrist, he said, well, I'm going to tell the truth, which was he was working for the CIA, and that's what I was told to do. So that would indicate that there are perhaps national security issues, but that's not a reason not to release this material. John, if you go to my 2015 book, The Clintons' War on Women, there's more information there than has been released by the Justice Department.
That's the problem we have in this country, Roger, is nobody wants to tell the truth.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
I want to turn to, Roger, the Republicans as a whole. We're finding out this week that Rand Paul in the Senate is very against Trump's tariffs. He's so much against them that he wants them to make an embarrassment of Donald Trump and an embarrassment of the Republican Party and get votes. And he apparently has the votes in the Senate right now. Get the votes in the Senate to repeal Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, there's one problem, and Rand Paul knows this because he's a constitutionalist, is Donald Trump could go ahead and veto that. Why even cause this upfighting in the Republican Party and embarrass ourselves?
Well, first of all, there has been a schism between Senator Paul and the president for some time. Even after Mitch McConnell threw in the towel and endorsed Donald Trump for the 2024 nomination, Rand Paul did not. I understood that he told the president that there were conditions for his endorsement. At that point, Trump had the nomination wrapped up. I don't think he was going to be nominated or elected because of the endorsement of Rand Paul. So, look, I think maybe for him it is a matter of principle. I understand that, but it is not helpful to the country. And you're right. This is Donald Trump's Republican Party. This is no longer the party of Wall Street or the financial elites or the billionaires. This is the party of working people. And Trump is committed to bringing manufacturing and jobs back to this country. And that means we must have the ability to sell our products abroad.
Yeah.
The people get it. The other thing that's going on here, John, that's interesting is, amazingly, the same polls that told us that Kamala Harris was going to beat Donald Trump are now telling us that Donald Trump is unpopular with the American people. Please give me a break. This is yet another psyop. You know as well as I do that any poll can be manipulated by the wording of the question, by the order of the question, by the size of the sample. I just don't put much stock in this. The surveys I have looked at, particularly surveys by Tony Fabrizio, who I have enormous respect for, and John McLaughlin for that matter, show that the president's doing just fine. He's taking a lot of attacks from the mainstream media, and I think to the extent that there is any dip in his support, it's understandable. He's in the middle of a fight, and there's a huge amount of disinformation. Oh, he's shipping this Maryland man illegally to El Salvador. No, he's not a Maryland man. He's an El Salvador resident. This is insanity.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually pull up some of those approval polls because I was talking about them yesterday with my friend Mark Mitchell, who I have on the show pretty often. It's unbelievable to believe that this is what these people think. And just looking over some of these polls, you've got NPR Marist lied, Roger, in the 2024 election. They lied in the 2020 election. ABC, Washington Post, they lied the entire election. They came out a week before the election. They put out a new poll. CNN, the same thing. New York Times, Siena, Roger, if you ever have some fun time, go back and look at their 2020 polling. Their final polling, Roger, they had Biden winning Michigan by 11 or 12 points. I mean, they missed, Roger, by 8-9 points. That's no accident. So I want to go down to two particular polls because these are two people who got 2024 either spot on or within the margin of error within 0.5. And it's Qantas Insights, who I met the fellow who does the polling, very nice, honest guy, and Rasmussen Polls, Mark Mitchell. They have President Trump's approval at 47-48. RMG, also another one, at 49. Yet you have all these other people, Roger. Why have they still not learned their lesson? With lying to the American people, nobody buys their BS anymore. Nobody buys the bunkum that Donald Trump is underwater in any sense of the imagination. To put Fox News, why would they do this to themselves, Roger, and embarrass themselves?
Because it is part of their effort to mislead the American people. Polls have a great tradition, but with the advent of the cell phone and the computer, in the beginning, pollsters had to go to the door. Gallup and Harris had to go to the door of the people they were polling. Now you have to get to be accurate the right mix of internet respondees, cell phone respondees, personal respondees. It's a much more complicated science. And I think with the general distrust of politicians, politics, government, institutions, there are a lot of people who love Donald Trump who are not going to tell that to a pollster. They're just they don't want to be harassed. They don't want to be hassled. They certainly don't want to be targeted.
Yeah. When they call me, Roger, which I get a call every now and then, I lie. I tell them I'm a Hispanic female. I'm over 55 years old. So I'm probably part of the problem, but I'm not playing their bullshit because I know it's a lie anyway. And the craziest part about it all, Roger, that nobody questions is there's something called crosstabs, which, in there, and it's how you got your information. None of them ever release it. So they can literally just plug and play whatever numbers they want. What I was told is all it has to do is equal 100%, which is even for a Democrat, not very hard to do.
This new New York Times poll shows that 37% of the people voted for Donald Trump in the poll. So therefore, de facto, the survey is incorrect.
Yeah. You would think they'd enough with the lies and deceit. Let's turn to what happened in Canada last night. Choosing to go further Marxist, further socialist. And that's what Donald Trump called for. I was talking with someone last night after the election, and he said, Donald Trump screwed this thing up. We could have had a conservative in there. And Donald Trump said it perfectly right. He didn't want to deal with a conservative. He wants to deal with someone that we're going to get a deal done through. And a conservative, would be, just a piece of milk toast. Whereas a liberal socialist, he's going to go to war with, and he's probably going to win.
Well, first of all, Canada is very much like the United States in the sense that their conservative party, there's nothing conservative about their conservative party. So those would be the rhinos in our system. Doug Ford is not in any way a conservative. I think Pierre Poilievre he's interesting. He's very funny. But let's also point out that internet and broadcast censorship is far greater in Canada than in the United States, as in many countries in the world. We have one broadcast entity. It's the government. It would be like if we just had PBS, for example. And internet censorship is much, much more aggressive, very much like it was back in 2020 during that election. So I think that played a major role in the outcome of this election. I also think, candidly, Donald Trump's trolling the Canadians. It is understandable how that might upset some Canadians, but to blame the loss on Donald Trump, I think, is a bit much.
One correction there, Roger. You said Canadians and Americans, Canada and America is very alike. There's one difference: the men are not the same. I don't think there's a sense of any alpha in that country. And I say this, my brother-in-law is from Canada, and I tell him the same exact thing.
No, they're brittle, they're weak, they're effeminate. I mean, there's nothing worse than a Canadian liberal.
And I mean, it could be they don't have a military. None of them go to the military to man up. I don't know what it is, but there's sort of this, and I get this from like 99% of Canadians. There's this passive aggressiveness in them, where they want to kill you, but they'll never tell you they want to kill you because they're terrified to tell you they want to kill you. That's what I get from it. So do you think now with Donald Trump negotiating with this socialist, we get something done? Because we already see now, Roger, over in Asia, apparently Donald Trump and Xi Jinping are supposed to meet in May. He's working a deal with Japan. They have a framework for a deal in India. Everything is coming together, right? And this is faster than I could have ever imagined with the major countries, right? We really only need to make deals, in my opinion, with Canada, with China, I don't care, Japan, Cambodia, Vietnam, and India. And if the European Union wants to play ball, come on, play ball. If you don't, eat the tariffs. And most of those countries I just named, he's already has framework in place, Roger. And this is like less than a month after the tariffs kicked in.
Also Mexico, where the Mexicans have essentially folded.
Yep.
The president put this best the other day when he said, there's really nothing in Canada that we need. We can build our own cars here. We don't need Canada. That's a pretty strong position to go into the negotiation with. I think they need us more than we need them. Look, I actually don't think Trump likes tariffs. I think he likes using them as a club. If he could have zero tariffs across the board, that would be his preference. I mean, I think he is actually at heart, he's a free trader, but we haven't had free trade in this country for 100 years. What we have are these big one-size-fits-all international trade deals, which seem to be highly beneficial for our trading partners, but not very beneficial for us.
Yeah, as Lou Dobbs used to say, free trade is just a term that's used as a guise for them to screw us over. It's fair trade is what we need, and like you just said, there's nations where we're not buying as much as they're buying, and vice versa. Canada is one of them. Vietnam is another one. For every $1 we spend, we spend $15. So there's situations, Roger, where you're not going to be able to balance it out completely, but you need to make it make sense, in my opinion.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
I want to turn to Roger, Tish James. If you have an update for us. Last time you and I sat down, we made some news. We spoke about some Republicans, and we're going to get to that because I got so much hate, Roger, after you and I sat down in Florida last week for talking about what's his name down in Florida, Ron DeSantis in Florida, for talking about Steve Bannon. And I simply came on the show the next day, Roger. People were writing hate mails to me telling me they'll never tune in again. And I said to the audience, I said very respectfully, if you don't think it's incumbent upon me as a journalist to cover that Steve Bannon was prepping Jeffrey Epstein for depositions or recorded a 15-hour film with him for depositions, then this is not the show for you. If you don't think it's incumbent upon me to speak about Ron DeSantis transferring $10 million in Florida state funds to his wife's charity, then this is not the show for you. This is about truth, justice, and the American way. I don't care if you're Republican or not. I don't protect pedophiles. I don't protect crooks. It's not the show for you. So that's what I pretty much came out here and said the next day, because that's what it is, Roger. I care about truth, justice, and the American way. I don't give a shit about Republicans or Democrats at the end of the day. I'm an American, and I'm America first.
Well, as you know, Letitia James has retained Abby Lowell. Now, I'm familiar with Mr. Lowell. He represented former New York Senate Majority Leader Joe Bruno, who was a great man, a very good friend of mine. Bruno was, I think, wrongfully charged with corruption. He was convicted on all counts with Abby Lowell as his lawyer. Then when the U.S. Supreme Court vacated that conviction, strangely enough, the Justice Department decided to retry him. He fired Abby Lowell, hired a pit bull local criminal defense attorney in Albany, and he was acquitted on all charges. I have here Abby Lowell's letter to the Justice Department, which he thoughtfully gave to the New York Times. And he actually says that these discrepancies, these falsehoods, these problems with her various mortgages, acts that you and I would go to jail for if we did, that they are political retribution. They quote Trump as saying, "I am your warrior, I am your justice, I am your retribution. If you go after me, I'm coming after you." Letitia James ran for Attorney General on a platform of putting Donald Trump in jail before she had identified any crime by Donald Trump. And then she had to invent 2 crimes by Donald Trump. The idea under a law that had never been used before, that Trump inflated his assets in order to get commercial real estate loans, all of which he paid back on time, and the lenders made $40 million in interest, and every one of them said they would do the deal again tomorrow. That's what they tried him for. Now, she, I think, if you want to be clear about this, no, these claims are not trivial. I learned about them by going to whitecollarfraud.com, whitecollarfraud.com. All of the actual documents are there. You can look for yourself. I saw Errol Lewis on New York One saying that this was trivial, this was insignificant, that Letitia James did nothing wrong. The last politician he said that about was Elliot Spitzer.
Oh, no. No, for those folks not living in New York One, I spent a fair amount of time there working for New York politicians. I mean, it's a fraud operation. It's a very terrible place for local news. Errol Lewis, I don't know if you know this, Roger, but he used to be a daily news columnist, and he was on Lou Dobbs' show like once or twice a week. Lou actually liked this guy. I got to know Errol, and I'm like, Lou, you don't really like Errol. And it was before he decided he wanted to be a political justice warrior. I mean, it's a total disgrace that we can't get fair news. What they did to Donald Trump, they had no problem reporting it, right? The guy's a convicted felon, mugshot him, fingerprint him, put it up everywhere. But I don't see this story covered anywhere, Roger. I see it in the New York Post. I see it on the Gateway Pundit, but that's about it. Nobody's reporting on it. The double standard in this country is beyond laughable, Roger.
Well, you have a couple other things here. There is a pending lawsuit in which a state employee claims that Letitia James, chief of staff, sexually assaulted her, and that James turned a blind eye to it. Now, recently, the appeals court, all Democrats, separated James from that case. The case goes forward, but James was dropped from it. The woman's lawyer tells me that's going to be appealed. Now, isn't this exactly what she took Andrew Cuomo out for? And by the way, I have reason to believe that this is not the only example of her covering up sexual harassment and assault. We also have the issue of the financing of her campaign for Attorney General. Now, it takes an enormous amount of work. You're fully aware of the Act Blue scandal, the burgeoning Act Blue scandal. But I think what you're going to find when all the research is done is that Letitia James took in millions of dollars from donors who either don't really exist or who tell you they didn't give to Letitia James and they don't know what you're talking about. So I think these mortgage issues, all of which are quite serious, all of which would send you or I to jail if we did them, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Jail, forget about it. Roger, you'd be sent to the electric chair. Roger Stone's a mortgage frauder. He's an insurance frauder. They'd come to your house at 6 o'clock in the morning. They'd scare your wife. I mean, what they did to you, they don't do to anybody else, right? Letitia James, I hope to high heavens that this woman gets the book thrown at her, but do I have confidence in the justice system? Absolutely not, because we have no reason to believe that anybody other than Roger Stone or Paul Manafort or Peter Navarro gets the book thrown at them, Roger.
Well, we saw Andrew McCabe on CNN this week, or maybe it was MSNBC, saying that it was outrageous that the Trump Justice Department and ICE did not extend a courtesy to the judge who was trying to help an illegal immigrant escape. What kind of courtesy did they extend to my hearing impaired wife who woke up on January 25th, 2019, looking down the barrel of 2 fully automatic assault weapons? What kind of courtesy was extended to me? I was charged wrongfully with a first-time nonviolent process crime. Normally, in such situations, you would contact my lawyer. In fact, Robert Mueller's office spoke to my attorney the day before. We turned over 30 pages of text messages that essentially proved that I was telling the truth and that their indictment was a piece of crap. But rather than say, by the way, we're charging your client tomorrow, he should turn himself in, they staged this elaborate $1.1 million raid. So what kind of courtesy was I afforded? It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's pathetic, but it's nice to see, though, that this is the retribution that Donald Trump spoke about, Roger, and this is the retribution that I'm happy that we're seeing. Going after people who actually committed crimes. Letitia James actually committed a crime. This judge in Wisconsin actually committed a crime. This is the kind of retribution that the American people wanted. The Democrats are kings and queens at gaslighting, Roger, and Americans have had enough of it. They've had enough of the lies. They've had enough of the deceit of what they've done. Before we wrap up here, I want to get your take on this and see if you can confirm or deny. Somebody sent me this picture that you were in Italy last week. Is this you? Is this somebody else? Is this a deep fake, Roger?
AI is a great thing, isn't it? Look, I've written a couple of analysis pieces, kind of handicapping the horse race for Pope, because anyone who thinks this isn't political doesn't get it. I have a second one publishing today. I've done 2 so far. And there are developments. For example, Cardinal Pizzaballa who heads the church in Jerusalem, is kind of emerging now as a dark horse. My first choice would be Cardinal Sarah or Cardinal Erdo from Hungary. It's going to be very, very difficult, John, because Pope Francis, a globalist, who reached accommodation with the Communist Chinese Party. He actually let the Chinese Communist Party have veto power over who could be a bishop or a priest in China. Now, I think accommodation with evil is evil. The Chinese Communist regime is probably the most brutal and vicious in the history of the world. They kill people who practice a certain type of Buddhism called Falun Gong, and they harvest their organs. That's the kind of evil we're talking about. Also, the Pope accepted a crucifix with the hammer and sickle on it from, I think it was the Pope in Australia. He brought back pedophiles like Cardinal McCarrick, who was completely discredited, but then the Pope brought him back as a special counselor to Pope Francis. He was ultimately defrocked when the evidence of his pedophilic activities became so bad that they couldn't keep him.
The problem was, Roger, his pedophilia. I did a lot of research on this guy, who's now dead, by the way. Goes back to 1980, Roger. They let this guy hang around for 40 years after allegations of pedophilia. I mean, a friend of Joe Biden. How do you let that happen?
Well, and Pope Francis never denounced the mass murder of Christians in Syria. He's had no criticism of radical Islam. Let's be very clear. The precept of their religion is that we must all be killed because we don't agree with them. Yeah. How do you reach accommodation with such people? How do you say that that's a religion of peace? Because it isn't. Look, I grew up in the church of Fulton Sheen, and when the Catholic Church was a bulwark of anti-communism, and the key role the Catholic Church played in Russia, in China, in Poland. Now it has become just a globalist front, and it is true that Pope Francis appointed 80% of the cardinals who will be voting. So I would like to be more optimistic that we could elect a more traditionalist or conservative Pope, but I think the odds are against it. And lastly, I still among those who believe that the resignation of Pope Benedict was extraordinarily suspicious. He resigned for reasons of health, and then he lived for 10 more years. So I think he was forced out. I question whether Pope Francis was legitimate from the beginning, but he denounced private property rights. He embraced Marxism. Sorry, this is not my Catholic Church. I think you could have a schism in the church. This could become known historically as the period of 2 popes. We shall see.
Yeah, I was born, raised a Catholic, Roger, received all my sacraments, but I, over the last few years, have grown away from the Catholic Church and really want no part of it, no piece of it. The pedophilia thing, Roger, to me, it really doesn't sit right. Anyone who protects pedophiles, anyone who inhibits pedophiles, anyone who allows that garbage is the devil, in my opinion, and the opinion of most people, especially the victims. And it's just disgusting that the Catholic Church has allowed this stuff to happen under our Watchful eye. You're absolutely right on the resignation of the last pope. He knew something. He saw something. He didn't like something, and he was going to say something, and he got the hell out of there. He was pushed out of there. And then they somehow bring in this guy, Roger, who's this globalist, socialist. Now, I don't want to talk bad about the dead, but it's what it was. He wanted open borders except for the Vatican.
Judgment on Pope Francis has moved up to a much, much higher authority than you and I, John.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Raj, before we wrap up, President Trump taking the stage in just a few moments here. As I said, we're going to be carrying the rally right here on this channel. The link is in the comment section. What do you expect to hear out of President Trump in just a few moments as he rallies folks in Michigan on his first 100 days in office? Does he take aim at anybody specifically? Maybe your good friend J.B. Pritzker, who's been out on the trail lately? Let me know.
This guy is so fat when he walks down the street, the cops say, break it up. I mean, it's beyond belief. And frankly, if any Republican said what he said this week, visiting New Hampshire, where he evidently thinks he's a potential presidential candidate, if any Republican said, we can't give these Republicans a moment of peace, essentially calling for insurrection. I remember after January 6th, if in a speech you use the word fight, as in fight for America, fight for freedom, you were accused of fomenting violence. I think Pritzker, I think he advocated violence. I think he advocated sedition. Of course, he will not be held responsible. Trump, I'll say this, he'll be funny. That you do know. He'll be entertaining and he'll be funny. He's going to talk about both the high points of the first 100 days, but he's also, I think, going to be quite honest about the challenges that lie ahead. The most important thing about this rally, in my opinion, is his safety at the rally. That's the most important thing I pray over.
Yeah, especially, Roger, the fact that we still don't know anything about the two shooters of President Trump. The silver lining in J.B. Pritzker running for president, Roger, is they get them the hell out of Illinois. I hope that someone like Rod Blagojevich decides to look at taking a run at something once again because of what they did to him. Not enough people, I got to actually call him, not enough people know about what they did to him. That guy needs a second chance, and he's got
right now, John, it would actually require a law. So they passed a law in Illinois that said convicted felons can run for public office unless their name is Rod Blagojevich, in which case they cannot. I kid you not.
No, I know. And that's what I'm saying. If anyone didn't realize, Roger, real quickly, when I remember that whole trial playing out when I was young. I was young at the time, but I remember seeing Rod on TV, and he looked like a villain out of a movie. And I'm like, this guy's guilty as hell. I mean, just look at him. He's guilty as hell. And it wasn't up until a few years ago where I read into this thing, Roger, and I see that in the first trial that he was that they had a hung jury on every count, and then 15 minutes later they come back and do it. Not enough people know about what they did to that man. He deserves a second chance at life.
I agree entirely. First of all, he's one of the most talented political leaders I've ever met. And try walking down the street with him in Chicago. He's absolutely beloved. This is really simple. The government claimed that they had a wiretapped audio tape of a conversation in which he solicited a bribe. They never played the tape in court. His defense was quite simple. Rod's defense was, play the tape. If I said that, play the tape. They managed to convict him without ever presenting him with the evidence of his crime. It's really outrageous. It is probably the first example of weaponization of the criminal justice system.
Yep, I have a tremendous. The first day I met him, I introduced myself, and he told me the first thing he said to me was he apologized for Lou's passing. I was with Lou's wife at the time, and he said Lou Dobbs was Donald Trump before Donald Trump was Donald Trump, and it gave me chills because he's not the only person who said that. Roger, you get the last word here. As always, it's always fascinating and a great deal of fun to talk with you on the show. By the way, this sits on my desk, Roger. In my studio here every day now. You get the last word here as we wrap up until next week.
Yeah, I made a few calls last night. This rampant rumor that Pete Hegseth is on the verge of resigning, he's leaving, he's on his way out, that's complete bullshit. It's not true. And I guess my other message to everybody out there is don't be a panikin. Stay the course.
The Stone Zone, folks, you can catch Roger each and every night, 8 p.m.?
8 p.m. at WABCradio.com, WABCradio.com. Worldwide, you can listen to us live at 8 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. And then on Sundays, again, on WABCradio.com from 3 to 5.
And you can go to thestonezone.com, get your Roger Stone merch. You can get one of those books. You can get a signed Stone, whatever you want. He does terrific articles up there, too. Thestonezone.com. We encourage you highly, 8 p.m. each and every night. If you're here in the tri-state, WABC Radio, WABCradio.com. If you're elsewhere. Roger, we'll see you next week.
God bless you and Godspeed, John.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us tonight. And a reminder, if you keep it right here on the Great America Show, we have the link right here for you in the chat. We'll be carrying the Trump rally for you tonight, live from Michigan, just after this show wraps up. Once again, it'll be right here on the Lou Dobbs Media channel, bringing it to you guys live from Michigan. Folks, thanks, everybody, for being with us today. Please be sure to stay with us through this for that rally. If not, if you have other plans, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. But until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a great night, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.